Just a very brief class today because I want to give you as much time as you possibly can use to work on your project. But I thought what might be very helpful at this point is if we went over a few things that I was looking for in marking your project. And one of you has already submitted a completed project to me. So I'm hoping that Ella doesn't mind if I use her excellent sample as a demonstration of how I mark the project. So first of all, 9X, just a brief reminder about what is needed in order to get the very best mark on your project. So I'm just going to briefly go over this PowerPoint again. I know you've heard it a number of times from me, but I don't think it'll hurt to hear it one more time. So the user interface project itself. This is Learning Aim A. And in Learning Aim A, you're demonstrating that you know what an interface is, that thing we use to talk to machines, and how it works. That you have at least two different types of interface, both GUI and menu, and four different types of product: computer, handheld, appliance, and entertainment system. Learning Aim B, which we started moving into a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago, is to learn how to use planning tools to implement a user interface project. And then Learning Aim C is an actual user interface design project, and you will be participating as part of a national competition in that. So we're not ready for Learning Aim B and C yet. We're just focused on A. So the first objective in your presentation is that I need to see a PowerPoint with at least 8 slides and at least 2 examples of actual interfaces per slide. And these are the 8 slides that I've suggested to you. Although if you accomplish this same thing using a different format, I will give you credit for that regardless. So these are the 8 slides that I'm looking for, with the 2 examples of an actual interface per slide. And in a minute, we'll take a look at Ella's and see how she does. Now, the second thing that I'm looking for are some notes underneath each slide, talking about the 2 examples on the slide, and talking about the design principles. And design principles are simply the colors, letters, pictures, or symbols, the order in which they're laid out, whether or not you know what they mean just by looking at them. This is also called intuitive. And what grabs your attention. And how does the design help someone use the equipment correctly? In other words, user needs. How does it meet user needs? So in this case, if you just talk about what you see and describe what it is, that would be a bronze. If you talk about why each example helps the user to get what they want or need from the equipment, in other words, how does it work, that would be a silver. And if you compare the 2 examples and discuss which one works best and why, how well does it work, well, that would be a gold response. So that's what we're looking for in the presentation. Let's take a look at Ella's now. So I'm first looking at her presentation. I'm not putting this in PowerPoint slideshow mode because I want to look at the notes underneath as well. And here I see 2 very, very clear examples of GUI. It looks like she's using a classic Microsoft example and an Apple example, which I think are excellent choices to really have a full view of what's possible with GUI. So I'm looking at both of these GUI examples, and I see that both of these are clearly GUI. They're both using pictures, and they're both from completely different products. On menu, I see clearly some menus, and I see that she's chosen again two different products to look at menus. One looks like a very recent version of Windows. Another one is a much older version of Windows. Then I'm looking at handheld, and I see here clearly a mobile phone screen, and I'm seeing three examples here of handheld GUI. And then I'm looking at handheld menu. I'm seeing, yes, I'm seeing pretty much menu examples, pretty much words here, as opposed to pictures on this one. This one, not quite so sure about, but I think it's close. Then we're looking at appliance GUI. And here I'm seeing clearly some pictures used, although there are words as well. I'm seeing some pictures used here for appliance GUI. It looks like washing machines here. And for appliance menu, I'm seeing two very old examples, it looks like, of menus, probably not the best that could have been found. These look like they tie into televisions and other items, but she has highlighted where she wants me to go. So still, I think that meets the criteria. Then entertainment system GUI here, some great pictures. And then entertainment systems menu right here. So I would say when I come to mark Ella's project, which I'm going to do right now, in this particular case, I would say that clearly, I'm looking at the first criteria here. Clearly, with the exception of the appliance menus, I think she has hit all of these criteria up to a merit. So I'm going to give her a solid F for finalized, finished, all the way up to there. And then for the last part, because of that appliance menu, which was a little bit cryptic to me and maybe not the best example I could see, here I'm going to mark her down a little bit, but I'm still going to say that that is definitely in progress. So that would stay as yellow. So let's take a look now at Ella's notes and see how she used those notes to describe her user interfaces. So again, we're going back to Ella's work, and I'm going right back up, and I'm going to be looking at the types of notes that she's put in. So her notes are at the bottom. I'm going to see if I can, let's see. I'm going to see if I can open this up just a little bit in the view that we choose. So here I'm using a view that allows me to see the notes that she's putting on each, and it's just the notes page basically is what I'm looking at. So here, under her first example, which is computers GUI, she talks about the use of Windows icons and menus to carry out commands. such as opening, deleting, moving files. Although a GUI operating system is primarily navigated using a mouse, a keyboard can also be used via keyboard shortcuts. So she's giving me the very basics there. She's letting me know basically what it is in that example. So under Computers menu, a menu is a set of options presented to the user of a computer application to help the user find more information or execute a program function. Menus are common in graphical user interfaces, such as Windows, or the Mac OS menus are also employed in some speech recognition programs. She's giving me a little bit more. She's beginning to indicate a little bit how does it work, but it's still very much a what is it description. So handheld, the actions in GUI are usually performed through direct manipulation of the graphical elements. Beyond computers, GUIs are used in many handheld mobile phone devices such as MP3 players, portable media players, gaming devices, smartphones, and smaller household, office, and industrial controls. So again, she's beginning to describe a little bit about what is it and how does it work. So the types of interface lets you interact with a computer or device. This is handheld menu by working your way through a series of screens or menus. Think about your iPod or mobile phone. They both use menu-driven interfaces. You are presented with a menu, you make a choice, and then the next menu appears on screen. So she's beginning to answer now very clearly, how does it work? But I'm not seeing anything yet that would indicate that she's answering the question, how well does it work? But she has notes on all of these slides as instructed. And so she's definitely meeting the criteria of the notes. So when I go back again with Ella, I'm saying, does she at least have notes on every slide? And the answer to that is yes. Are they at a level 1 merit criteria? In other words, has she met what I would expect from a level 1 pass? Does she have notes on every single slide? And the answer to that is yes. So I'm moving her here to an F for fully complete, finalized in the green. So a level 2 pass criteria, I think she is meeting those because in every case, she talks about what is it. I don't think that on item number 2, she's progressed much beyond the pass criteria. However, she hasn't gone into how does it work or how well does it work. So overall, I think I'm going to put this down as a D because it is displayed, but it's still, it is developed, but I don't think it's finalized. So overall, an excellent mark for Ella. She meets criteria 1 all the way across the board. She meets criteria 2 most of the way across. And so that is now Ella's final score. So what I do, as Ella sent me her presentation, is that I then I copy this particular screen using the functions on my keyboard, which are probably a little bit different than the functions on yours. And then I go to Ella's work, to where she sent me her presentation, and I reply to her. And what I'm going to show here is I'm going to say, congratulations, Ella. Ella, and I hope you don't mind me using your example. And then I put, here is your mark. And then what Ella gets back from me is proof that I did indeed mark her the way that I've just shown you I marked her. So I send that back to Ella. She will have that now. Ella, you can now rest up through until at least Friday of this week, because your work is done. Just please do carry on with the assignments that Mr. Phillips is sending you. And that's it. So I just wanted to make this a very brief session because I wanted you to have most of the lesson to be able to focus on your class. But I did want to at least make the point that it's not very hard to get a good mark on this project. You do just have to make sure you're focused on the objectives that I've described. So I hope that makes it easier for you. And again, thank you, Ella, for letting me use your presentation as an example. And I look forward to being back in class with you under far more normal conditions than these as soon as possible. So have a wonderful week, 9X, and I'll talk with you again soon. And try to put on a few more videos to inspire and encourage your work on your projects. Thanks so much. Bye now.